Hello, back once again for the millionth time, doing more wrestling talking stuff. I think we had a couple of weeks off because, we've been doing like vlog stuff and there's other things been going on, more serious shit's been going on with lockdowns and all this kind of crap. So I think we've just been busy doing other things, but we're back again to do some more wrestle talk stuff.
As much as we try, you can't get rid of us.
No.
It's not that we don't like doing these, but it's kind of got to the point of like we keep thinking we see the end in sight, and then more shit happens.
Yeah, to be honest, we originally started doing this questions podcast. It's like, we'll just do this for a few weeks to fill the time, and then once everything opens back up, we'll go back to our original schedule. And it's kind of ended up like Symbols of Appreciation on Planet Rock now. It's like in its a millionth iteration, it just doesn't have an end in sight.
Well, I think it has become like you said at the start. Like it started as a weekly thing, but it's become a more maybe fortnightly, every 3 weeks thing, depending on certain circumstances or pay-per-views and stuff. So we do it to again fill our boredom void and try and entertain the masses. I say the masses.
We say masses.
The dozens.
The dozens. Well, even then, the 5.
Yeah, again.
So yeah, like, subscribe, share. We're all over the place. You know this deal by now. And we're going to kick straight in with questions because I don't think there's any deaths as far as I know.
I'm just thinking, I don't think there is.
However, we will dedicate this to Eddie Van Halen.
Yes.
100%. And we know it's not wrestling based, but everybody knows Van Halen, one of, if not the greatest guitarist that has ever lived. Unfortunately died 65, cancer. And it's just, that sucked.
Yeah, it's, again... Like I say, nothing to do with wrestling, but as far as I know, Van Halen was never used as a pay-per-view theme or anything like that for WWE. But, I don't know what it is, but rock and metal music have always been heavily associated with wrestling anyway. But regardless, like you say, but a personal thing more than anything else, Eddie Van Halen to us is a rock god.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's got business cards now, so there you go.
Yeah, we're running out of them.
No, it's horrible. We haven't got a new, epic band on the horizon.
Well, no, and it's not going to come anytime soon, given the fact that the government don't give a shit about the arts at the moment, so...
No.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, let's try and avoid the politics.
Yeah, okay. The government suck as usual. Moving on.
Moving on.
So, question 1 from me, then. Do you think that the Banks and Bayley match at Hell in a Cell will be the end of the feud or just another part of it?
My instinct is saying it's probably going to be another part of it because, well, first of all, I'm a bit annoyed that we're getting 3 Hell in a Cell matches this year. I mean, it's a bit overkill, to be honest.
2's enough.
Because to me, we've said this in the past about Hell in a Cell, the Hell in a Cell match used to feel like such a rare thing, it would just be epic at the sound of it, or the fact that this match was taking place in it. The fact that now, not only is it happen annually, but there's used to be 2 on the same night, maybe 1 every now and then at WrestleMania, but now we're getting 3. It already's taken the buzz and the special feeling of a Hell in a Cell match out of it for me. So, yeah, if Sasha Bayley had happened back in the day inside Hell in a Cell, I would have been like, yeah, this is it. This is where rivalries get finished, in the cell.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's such a watered-down version. It never feels like the end of a rivalry. But the only wishful thinking I got there is that they have the Hell in a Cell. I don't know how it's going to end up. Maybe even one being kayfabe, written off TV for a while, the injury. So it's that brutal that it's like, okay, that was barbaric, but this is still unfinished business. And then they can pick it up later next year where it can lead to a WrestleMania match to wrap it up more nicely. Because I know this storyline's been building for a while, and Bayley finally turned on Sasha, and now we're getting the match. But the turn is only the beginning of the rivalry, and a rivalry like that deserves a series of matches, not just one Hell in a Cell match, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it's more the start of it than the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree, and I'm praying that is the case, because if they just randomly end this at the Cell, then they've done all that build-ups for so long just to have this kind of lukewarm finish. I don't care what goes on inside the Cell. I don't care if it's the best women's Cell match ever. It's still not the place to finish it. This is Mania-worthy storytelling, because this is one of the best long-term bookings they've done in a while. It's probably one of the only long-term bookings they've done in a while. So I'm invested in it. I'm kind of hoping that, like you say, it's going to be a part of the whole feud. And I'm kind of hoping that Bayley just destroys Sasha so emphatically or so badly in such a way in the match that because she's still going in, kayfabe injured with this neck and everything, even though she had a kind of quick match on SmackDown which got disqualified, which I thought was stupid. They shouldn't have done the match on SmackDown at all. But with this, I think maybe they can get her kayfabe injured again really badly, so she doesn't appear again until the Rumble, whereby she wins it. That way she goes to Mania against Bayley. That's kind of the fairy tale way to do it, and the best way to kind of go about it, to get it up to Mania so that it doesn't feel stale by the time we get to Mania. Because the problem is we've got such a long time until Mania. You don't want them having 3 or 4, maybe 5 matches before Mania, because by the time you get to it, you're like, well, what else can you do? So the great thing here is use Hell in a Cell as that moment to obliterate Sasha so she's out of the game for a while, and then she comes back so unexpectedly, and then we can get ourselves freshly back into that feud.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed that the feud doesn't necessarily need the championship right now.
No, that's true.
It's great that it's in there, but I mean, ideally, if this is just adding more to the rumours that these writers are writing the stories but don't have an end. They're just kind of making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
So if it were up to me, I would have had the turn happen maybe around Extreme Rules time. So it leads to a match between them at SummerSlam, and it either, depending on how the match is going, they can either go to a time limit draw, which hardly ever happens, to the point of oh my God, we still don't know who's the best here. It went to the 30-minute draw, whatever. Or that it gets that brutal, it's a no contest. They have to stop the match, people breaking them up, whatnot. Clash of Champions is the rematch. The title changes hands. Bayley's furious, and that's when it's right, we need a final chapter, Hell in a Cell. That to me would have made more sense. Now, the only way I think they could save it is if, like say, Bayley destroys Sasha in the Cell, Sasha's stretched off, adds more heel buzz to Bayley's character, and that whole, I can't believe she's still champion, because she's been champion a long time.
Yeah. And again, that's good booking as well, because once Sasha gets the belt off her at Mania, if they're hopefully going that direction, you are chomping at the bit for Bayley to have that stripped, because she's had it for so long. So that's why it makes perfect sense for her ex-best friend to be the one to take it off her.
But even if you wanted to go the route that, let's just do this feud without the championship, you could have Sasha in off TV for a while, Bayley bragging while she's off of I've just proven that no one can beat me. Have Alexa Bliss with this new character absolutely dismantle her, with mind games and maybe fiend distractions and whatnot, that Alexa takes the championship. That's an out the blue kind of thing for the fans everywhere. Didn't see that coming. Bayley is in the Royal Rumble, and then Sasha returns in the Royal Rumble to attack Bayley. They both eliminate each other because they're just going at it, and then continue that bitter feud all the way up to Mania.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a whole lot of elements they can do with it.
But it needs to go to Mania.
Yeah. As far as the original question, I don't think they pulled the trigger necessarily too early. I think they just kind of had to, because they thought if we don't pull it now and we wait till Mania, the story's going to lose all momentum and steam.
Yeah.
They have to do something. Like we said before, they've kind of booked themselves into a bit of a corner. So
yeah, well, that's the standard for WWE these days. Book themselves into a corner, then just DQ the match or whatever.
Yeah. Oh God! If another no contest DQ happens at Hell in a Cell, then I quit.
If another fucking DQ, like no disqualification or something like that, happens in a Keith Lee match, I'm going to go fucking spare because it's driving me mad. Anyway,
yeah. Right, my turn. As all wrestling fans know, proper wrestling fans know, the wrestling kind of gets shit upon a little bit from the more what's the word I'm looking for? Like legitimate sports. That's the word I'm looking for. Like UFC, boxing. Like, well, it's scripted. It's not real. All that kind of crap. But real wrestling fans know that it's a tough industry. It takes, you got to be fucking tough to get in the company, let alone survive in it. So, do you think there's a line as backstage as far as what is bullying and what is just the tough love that some wrestlers need to go, if you're going to survive here, we're going to treat it a bit like this?
I think it's like back in the day, like Attitude Era and everything, it was law of the jungle, kill or be killed. You got to stick your head above the parapet, and if you don't, you'll get kicked down, blah, blah. And they used to do like the court thing, didn't they, as well, and stuff like that. The court thing, I suppose, was all right, because that's kind of like an impartial kind of ways of kind of fixing their problems. But we all know that there's definitely been bullying in the past, especially with people like JBL and Vince and stuff like that. They might just see it as some kind of banter and a bit of playful, but I know for a fact that there's definitely been some times where they've gone too far, or it's unnecessary, or they've just straight up bullied someone for no reason, just because they decided they didn't like their character, even though they're the ones that came up with the character for them. You know what I mean? It's I don't think it has a place anymore. I think you need to create a reasonable working environment so people want to work there and want to stay there. And if they want to work and stay there, they will give you the best of themselves in order to do so. And that is clear and obvious at the moment, that not necessarily everybody wants to stay there because of the environment that they're working in. Look at the amount of people that have left WWE over the last few years. And it's not just a couple of people that aren't really doing much. There's some big players in there that have done a lot, and they're buggered off elsewhere because they thought, fuck this, another company, any other company will treat me 10 times better. And that is unfortunately down to just the way that WWE do things. And I don't think it has a place anymore. But unfortunately, until Vince is gone, as we've said a million times before, with so many different options and so many different stories, until Vince is dead and buried in the ground, it's not going to change. Because I don't see Triple H following suit in that way, because I think he treats his NXT guys very, very well. He respects them, he understands them, he helps them, he does everything he can. He doesn't just go, here's a gimmick, get on with it, if you don't make it work, it's your fucking problem. He's not that kind of a guy. So I don't think it has a place anymore. I really don't. I don't think it's necessary, because you don't know what kind of mental problems someone is going through with all this, mental awareness and everything. It wasn't really a thing back in like the early 90s and the 80s and stuff. But now it's a thing, and I'm glad it's a thing. So you need to realise that, as like you saying certain things to a certain person might send them over the edge. And then what? You know what I mean? And Vince wouldn't fucking lay blame at his door if someone committed suicide. He'd blame them, or trying to find another way out of it. But what if he was the tipping point from something he said? So, no, I don't think it has a place anymore. I don't think that the bullying is acceptable anymore. I think you need to create a nice working environment so that people will give you the best of them.
Well, yeah, I never wanted it to come across as like, is bullying a good thing? Bullying is never a good thing in any environment. But I think there needs to be, in wrestling, there has to be a tough love kind of element there. And, I don't know, without really knowing what goes on behind the scenes, we get the dirt sheet every now and then of rumours and stuff. But I don't know what coincides of them, someone bitching about it and going, no, that's just trying to toughen you up. It's a tough business. Grit your teeth and get on with it. Or going, that's too far. What the fuck? So, like I said, JBL, that's pure bullying. That, what he got to was bullshit. But I don't know. It depends if it's warranted sometimes. Like we've discussed in the past, if someone with NXT, maybe NXT is a bad example because NXT is, where you do go to learn your craft before you make it to the big league, so to speak. if they fucked up, if there was something went wrong during a match, I might be wrong, but in my eyes, Triple H would be the guy to sit him down and explain this is why, or talk to them like, why did that happen?
Yeah.
This is why it went wrong.
Basically, instead of bullying, it's constructive criticism. Yes, he tells you, you made a mistake there, you fucked up there. Let's see how we can not do that next time.
But at some point, if that same mistake keeps happening, is that when it's showing the warrants to then raising their voice and going what the fuck are you doing out there?
Yeah, you've got to have chances, but again, you do it in a diplomatic way. You don't just start bullying someone because they made loads of mistakes. If they make loads of mistakes, you discipline them, you keep disciplining them, and then you say, right, you're on your last straw. If you can't do it, you're out.
Well, it's like the Nia Jax stuff is a good example. Yeah. I mean, she keeps fucking up a lot. And I'm wondering, I don't think the trainers will have an issue with it, not most of them, but it'd be like, right, are some of them kind of, with Nia's presence and her size and all that, is there a bit of intimidation there to even say to Nia, pack it in, as well as the fact that she's related to a very famous former wrestler of that whole lot. Because it sometimes think if Nia wasn't related to The Rock or Roman and all that, she was just, a nobody. Would they have tolerated her for as long as they have already?
Probably not.
But this is it. So tough love needs to be in the WWE because it's a tough business. You need to learn like NXT Takeover, for example. Take it you watched Takeover 31.
Yes.
Yeah. Finn broke his jaw in 2 places. Granted, it was near the end of the match, and I think they did say, okay, let's hurry up to the finish. But Kyle O'Reilly got injured as well, but they just got on with it. It'd be different if I was in the ring and I snapped my leg or something. I would not expect them to go, well, carry on. But if I've I don't know, popped an elbow out of place or broke a few fingers, I just automatically think, this isn't the business to go, can we stop the match because this has happened. You've got to grit your teeth and get on with it. Pop it back into place or, let the other wrestler ref know, I've injured this part of my body. Can we just either rush to the finish or try and avoid doing any moves at this part or avoid this move and just get on with it? Because if you're not taught that, then you're not going to be built to be a wrestler.
I suppose I get that, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a tough love situation because that's just the mindset that you should always have anyway. And the fact that it's just a given, and unless it's something where you physically can't stand up and carry on, you finish a match. But everyone just kind of knows that. I don't think that's necessarily bullying because if it was really that bad, they wouldn't force you to continue.
No, if it was bad, like we've said with there was the horrible injury Matt Hardy went through at AEW the other month. Most of the time, it's up to the referee's discretion and the people backstage. And most of the time, when they call the match off or an early finish, the wrestlers are pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the wrestler that's injured is saying, I can continue. The tough love is mainly for those that, the new blood going to the performance center that maybe don't have that imprinted on them yet. Of this, that they need this to get it through their heads of you go down, you get blown up because you're winded or you're too tired or you've had a really bad knock and you think fucking hell, I can hardly stand. It is a difference between I can hardly stand or I can't stand. If you can't stand, then fair enough, the match is over. If you can hardly stand but you make it to your feet. You've got thousands of paying customers and people all around the world watching. Just grit your teeth and get on with it. So again, depending on the situation.
Yeah, I think maybe that kind of shows that bullying and tough love are different things. I would say because bullying is just the horrible way of doing things. Tough love is a kind of it can be brutal, but it's kind of explained to someone with a little bit more harshness. It's like this is what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, but. I think, the bullying would be, I don't think you'd ever expect them to go, you got a broken arm, I don't care, go out and wrestle. The bullying would be kind of while they're in the ring, purposely sabotaging moves or hitting them a bit too stiff, not because they deserved it, but just because they wanted to get amusement out of it. Yeah. It's like, that is the definition of bullying. You hurting someone, whether it be mentally or physically, just because you get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a story, probably not the best example to use, but it's to do with Chris Benoit. And a few years ago, someone, a rookie, I don't know if they mentioned his name, disrespected Shawn Michaels. I don't know what he did, but he somehow showed a bit of disrespect to Shawn. And Benoit took exception to that and pulled this guy out of the locker room and said, right, we're doing, you got to do 1,000 squat crunches now before you go anywhere. And guys like wincing and in pain and whatnot. And Benoit did it with him. He did the 1,000 squat crunches, and afterwards the guy's like legs are jelly, can hardly stand. He goes, right, you think about this moment next time you disrespect someone in that locker room. That, to me, is toughening them up for the business, physically, and showing the respect element that needs to be within the locker room and in the ring.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have respect for your opponent or the people that you work with, you ain't going to survive.
No, that's true.
Tough love, definitely. Bullying, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Your turn.
Okay, so my second question is, if you could have anyone moved from the main roster back to NXT, who would you put there? It doesn't have to be someone necessarily that's been on NXT. It could be anyone.
Basically, I'm trying to think of the weakest guy at the minute, or weakest character, maybe. See, there's a few that I can think are really quite weak down the bottom of the pile, but instead of throwing to NXT, I'd just say throw him to the curb because, sometimes you can tell if they got the it factor or not. The first one that came to mind, purely because I genuinely thought he was going back, is Bo Dallas.
Bo Dallas. He hasn't been on shows for over a year.
Now, to be honest, I'm pretty sure he wasn't one of the ones released.
No, he's not. No, Curtis Axel was, but no, Bo's still with us.
Because I'd kind of completely forgot during TakeOver 31 that whole vignette of the returning champion. Then obviously it turned out to be Ember Moon, which is fantastic. It's 100%. Great to see it back. But originally, when I first saw that vignette, and they're like, it's a former champion, NXT champion coming back, I just thought this would be such the great time for Bo to get this new buzz and new character development stuff. Because with the way the vignette was, it was obviously a tough person situation of like almost mercenary feel. You could have a more angry Bo Dallas return to NXT. Kind of a Roman Reigns. Obviously, Roman Reigns has got to believe that. If Bo had this aggressive believe that comes back to NXT with the whole believe thing, but more aggressive and saying, this is where I thrived. I was one of the greatest NXT champions that there's ever been, and I want it back. I think it would give his career the shot in the arm that it needs right now. Because, what's he been doing?
Yeah, exactly.
He's just wasted talent right now.
Yeah.
So, have you got someone else in mind?
I mean, the obvious one, I suppose, is Kevin Owens, purely because a while back, obviously, he made that one appearance at War Games, and apparently the plan was actually to move him back to NXT, and then things just changed and it just didn't happen. However, I would be alright with it happening now, purely because the stuff he's been going through with The Fiend. Because obviously with The Fiend, each time that he faces someone, they change. They either turn heel or they go back to a former character or something like that. Something changes in them after they faced him. Now, I don't necessarily want Kevin turning heel again for no reason. I want a valid reason. I don't want it just be because, well, that's the only thing we can do to show that he's changed because of The Fiend. I think the best thing you can do is revert back to a previous character, the prize-fighting Kevin Owens that was in NXT. Still be a face, but you can go back to NXT. I think he could thrive there like you wouldn't believe. Because he's not really doing much else at the moment, so I don't see why you couldn't do that. Anything else? The other ones are just so obvious. Things like fucking Aleister Black for a start, just Ricochet. You know what I mean? So there is a long list. But yeah, Kevin, I'd say, was at the top for me because just even now with the story, it just seems to make sense.
Yeah. I mean, for a while, mainly the early days of Triple H's NXT, Cesaro was called in a lot to like have matches with Sami Zayn and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was almost the perfect mold to be that guy that can jump to NXT to help out the younger guys, but also appear on Raw and SmackDown as like not credible, but he's a mainstay on the main roster. As far as the tag team division, I think we've always said the Street Profits were kind of called up a bit too early.
Yeah.
They've thrown the belts on them a bit too soon. But if they were to drop the belts again soon, I could see them as that kind of Cesaro position, that every now and then they'll jump over to NXT to have a rivalry with one of the new tag teams there, maybe a couple of matches at TakeOver, which not only helps the new tag team talent get experience, but it gives the Street Profits a bit more, not just momentum, but that thing that they're missing that's on the main roster at the minute.
Yeah.
Because the NXT crowd are a lot more, not forgiving, they're more invested, but they're also more knowledgeable of like, these guys are still learning. This is the place for them to learn and to hone their craft. So the Street Profits can come back, help the new talent, help themselves to the time that they jump back to the main roster. It's kind of like, right, we're different now. We know what the game is. We know a lot more. We're more educated in this game.
Yeah.
Because, the Street Profits are kind of just there for me right now.
Same here.
Yeah, I take it you heard the bad news who might be returning.
Bad news?
Yeah. Oh, God, I couldn't believe it when I read it. Eva Marie.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that, yeah. I mean, she's not a good
Why are we
wrestler.
doing this?
Yeah, but I mean, in the same week, we've had fucking Lars Sullivan return, which I'm not happy about.
The last thing is, I'm not happy, but I'm not unhappy. It was just kind of like, oh,
yeah,
all right.
But the thing is, though, like, they've basically just shown with Lars Sullivan that it's okay for you to be homophobic and racist as long as you did it a while ago, and then you can still be here because you're a big guy. That's pretty much what they've said with him, and it's not acceptable. It's not like he said a random comment once saying something and he's apologised for it and said, I didn't know where I was then, I've changed my ways and everything. He's pretty much stood by what he said, and I don't understand why he deserves to be on the main roster because of it.
It's a different. He's been gone a long time, so again, we don't know what happens in people's personal lives and behind the scenes. There is the whole thing of people can change. I know what you said. Like apparently he hasn't publicly come out with any apologies, but what is bizarre with the whole story of what he did, the whole homophobic thing. And then it turns out it was in a gay porno anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's such a weird thing. Maybe he thinks he's got a monopoly on it because of it. Like he thinks he can.
I don't know. I mean, it's a very fickle and almost forgiving business because I don't blame Paige for this at all, even when it first happened. But obviously, all that whole Paige sex tape stuff came up.
Yeah.
Regardless of who leaked it and who actually did the whole posting of videos. She fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, she fucked up, but at the end of the day, those things weren't necessarily meant to be leaked to the public, and also, having sex with other people isn't a horrible thing to do at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's not offending anybody. Those tapes got out beyond her will, so that's not necessarily something she did wrong. She just fucked up that maybe she shouldn't have done the tapes, but it is what it is. Him being racist and homophobic and not apologising for it is a dick move.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's still under that. Despite luckily now living in a world where people know, the majority of people know that being homophobic is wrong and being racist is wrong and all that stuff. It's still all to do with beliefs and opinion, and that's the unfortunate reality of it all.
Yeah,
the same with religion. You can't knock someone for their religion. Just because you don't believe in it.
No.
Now, again, I agree with you. I do not agree with Lars' behaviour or his views whatsoever. But unfortunately, there might be that minority that do still.
Yeah,
It's
that's true. There probably is.
Convenience.
Well, I'm pretty sure Vince is probably one of them.
Who knows?
Pretty.
Who knows? Right, is it me again?
Yes, it is you.
Right, I'm bringing an old school thing back that I did a few podcasts ago of throwing out 10 names real quick with just either one sentence or one word answers of what you think about them.
Right.
I noticed last time, that I didn't do any women. So it'll be all women in this list.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Becky Lynch.
The man. She's just the man. I'm so happy that she's at this point now where she's getting exactly what she deserves. That top spot.
Yeah, that's all right. Charlotte.
Woo!
Unfortunately,
although she's very good on the mic, she's an amazing wrestler. She's just slowly but surely becoming the female poster girl or whatever, and that's largely down to her name. And that's
is that her fault though?
No, it's not her fault. And at the end of the day, she is a good wrestler and she's a good talker, and I do enjoy her. She hasn't got to that point yet where I'm just like, ugh. But it is getting that way. Luckily, with her being injured at the moment, that's kind of dissipated it. So we'll see where we go.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fair enough. Paige.
Just unfortunate, I would say, because there was so much potential there. I really enjoyed her character. I enjoyed everything about her, and I wanted her to go straight to the freaking top, especially with her being a UK girl. That kind of made a big deal for us. And then just the injury after injury after injury, it's a shame it's just come to an end as abruptly as possible. But there's rumours that her neck's been redone again and she might be able to step back into the ring. And I hope she does because she would be great.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm a huge fan of Paige as well, always have been. Bayley.
I would say cornerstone. And like she didn't used to be. You know what I mean? When she was on the main roster and everything, she didn't really do much for me. I liked the hugger thing for a time, but didn't last long. And then just this heel turn has revitalized her, where now she's similar to Asuka in that she's perfect person to call upon. She's a part of the roster where I think she's a solid person to chuck into a feud, and I'm all over it. I
love the fact that she's now proven that she can be a huge top, almost kid-like babyface, and then completely turn it to be such a hateable heel that is unbelievable.
Yeah,
she's so talented in that dynamic. Sasha Banks.
See, Sasha Banks, I think she's great. We all love her. We all think she's a great wrestler. I don't think her promo work is amazing. It's all right. But she's a great wrestler. For me, she's just not one of my favourites. I do like Sasha, and I'm loving the feud with Bayley, but overall she's not one of the ones I gravitate towards, like I do with Becky or Paige or something like that. Yeah. So I would say just standard for me. I'd say she's the weakest out of the four horsewomen, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
that's it. I was probably going to say that Sasha's kind of the cornerstone for maybe the four horsewomen, because, despite pretty much agreeing with everything you said, a while ago I would have said either Bayley or Becky were the weakest of the four, but they've upped their game so much that now Sasha needs to be the one to up her game.
Yeah.
But again, you take Sasha out the four horsewomen, you notice it.
You will. Yeah, you would.
Okay, going a bit more old school now. Trish Stratus.
Thick. She's an innovator, isn't she? She was able to coast that perfect line of being this absolutely drop-dead gorgeous woman and being able to kick ass in the ring and be an awesome wrestler at the same time, because it was around a time where women were just objects, and she was treated as such for quite a while. She's even brought in as such, and then she was able to prove, no, I'm here to kick some ass and be a women's champion, and she proved that she could do both. She could be gorgeous and deadly at the same time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that description. There's a reason that she's considered the best of all time as far as women's wrestlers. So that's fun. That's cool. Lita.
See, Lita, again, I think she's just legendary. like, because she's the yin and yang for her and Trish. Like, she was also really alternative as well. She had she definitely threw caution to the wind quite a few times. So I say daring is definitely one of her biggest traits. It's controversy with her and Edge and all that kind of shit that went on, but let's not worry about that for the moment. But yeah, again, she's just legendary. Needed.
Yeah, I was going to say standout because, like you said, with Trish Stratus, they both came into an era where it was like it was either the pinnacle or luckily towards the end of where women were being treated like objects and the sex appeal and stuff. And don't get me wrong, Lita was sexy, but where everywhere else had that, look at me, I'm a blonde bombshell, look at me, I've got the curves and stuff. Lita was the one of like, yeah, I've got that, but I'm the rocket chick that will kick your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what she was defined as, more as just a hot chick. China.
Oh, God. I would say a necessary cog in the machine, I would say, because she was able to do that thing where she was proving that it's not about looks, it's literally about being an aggressive wrestler. And just even with the intercontinental stuff she did with Jericho, it proved that like you could blur the lines with women and men and going against each other and everything. She was able to do so many things that any other woman has not been able to do in such a way. She really is like the ninth wonder of the world, and she's incredible. Yeah,
I know you've used innovator before, but I was going to say innovator for China. We can use it as both. So. Right, top two. These are going to be interesting ones. Ronda Rousey.
Surprising. That's okay. What I would say. I'd say surprising, because when Ronda came in, I knew that it was obviously to do with money and the fact that she's a UFC girl, everyone knows who she is, it's going to get a lot of eyes on the product with her coming in, and I was really worried that she was going to be a bog standard wrestler, not very good, but still get all the way to the top of the pile because she's Ronda Rousey. But she did surprise me. She surprised on how good she was with her promo work. She got better and better. And with her wrestling especially, we said when she was starting to wrestle that every single match she did was better than the last one, because she kept learning from the last one and building and building and building to a point where she earned the spot that she was in. So, surprising.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't a slacker. I was on that train when she got the Raw Women's Championship. I was still like, bit too early, I think, but to her credit, she took the belt and the ball and ran with it. So I still agree with the nickname, the baddest woman on the planet. But if the rumours are true that Ronda might be returning soon, Shayna Baszler is quickly climbing the ladder to be like, maybe she's the baddest bitch around at the minute. You know? So, final one, Stephanie McMahon.
In all honesty, I think she's a sweetheart. I honestly do. Like, I know she's obviously been quite controversial in the past and everything, obviously, but to be honest, most of the time, 99% of the time, whenever she's being a bitch, it's all in character. You know what I mean? She's this part of her, Stephanie McMahon, I'm the $1 million princess, I'm the boss's daughter, so I can be a bitch with big boobs and push my weight around and everything, and it's fuck all you can do about it, blah, blah, blah. But that's all character, and I love to hate her. As a person, she's just this absolute sweetheart that loves everybody and has passion for the business and tries to do the best that she can. And I don't really have a problem with Steph. She's never really rubbed me up the wrong way in as far as genuine terms are concerned.
Yeah, to borrow a catchphrase from her husband, as much as I hate to say it, she's that damn good. Because, again, I've been watching the Attitude Era old episodes, and I started the ones where, when she was first brought to television, she was Daddy's little girl. She was very delicate, shy, young woman that just, wanted to please everybody. And then she did the turn. And, the following Raw, even knowing this is all character, this is all scripted, I just thought, oh, what a bitch. And every time she turns that bitch thing up to 11, I'm at that whole like, can someone just spear her, kick her in the chin or something right now because she's pissing me off. That's a great heel.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people that, like, we've always praised the likes of Triple H and The Miz for, where despite you getting the product and knowing this is character work, you still want them to get their teeth kicked down their throat. So, yeah. Well, kudos to Stephanie there. So, yeah, that's my list.
Cool. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so my final question is obviously quite a recent one. What did you think of this year's WWE Draft?
Pointless.
Yeah.
Just pointless because...
I mean, I'll go on record. I haven't watched all of Raw yet, but I know a couple of things that have happened, and obviously I've watched SmackDown. And yeah, I agree. I think it's actually the worst WWE Draft we've had yet.
Yeah, I agree because... to their credit, I mean... I don't think they have been doing the wild card kind of shit as much as they used to. But in the current climate, no one knew who was on what show anyway. So the whole thing, they've done it, and it changes nothing.
Yeah.
It apart from maybe the major ones, which are like breakup of tag teams and stuff.
Yeah, but again, he's a dead set on getting rid of tag teams at the moment. I just like fucking hell. Like I was actually trying to list off some of the tag teams on Raw, and I was just like, I think there's like 2.
Yeah, I mean, or you got those that turn up once in a blue moon or just thrown together randomly. Like, I sometimes forget that Robert Roode and Dolph are still meant to be a team.
Yeah, why are they suddenly a team again? I thought bringing Robert Roode back would be a nice way to kind of give him revitalisation, but no, they just slotted him back right where he was before, in the mid-card with Dolph Ziggler with no importance.
The thing is, I'm pretty sure both of these are the first round, so you know them. The New Day one,
it doesn't make sense to me.
I understand why, but I don't know if it was necessary.
No, it wasn't, because you're allowed to have New Day as a threesome, as one pick, but you go out of your way to pick just 2 of them. What sense does that make?
I know why they wanted to give Big E the singles push.
Yes, but you could do that with them together. Fucking Kofi Kingston was WWE champion, and there was still the New Day. It makes no sense.
Think that's why they're doing it this way, because they don't really want to replay the same storyline. I think the fans would have been okay with it, but I think it's one of them where I'm interested to see where they go with this Big E push.
Well, I'm all for the Big E push. I just think they should have split the New Day up in a different way and done it with a proper storyline where someone turns heel on someone else, because that would have been more shocking and it made more sense. With this, it's literally just like, we're splitting them up because reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, like, if all is booked correctly, in a couple of years' time, if Big E does hopefully hold the WWE Championship or Universal Championship, whatever, a New Day triple threat, I'd be all over that.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, it's certainly like how we were with the Shield, all over that, a New Day hitting that momentum where I'd be down with that as well. And then there was the whole Otis and Tucker thing.
Yeah, just randomly. I mean, I don't know what Tucker has picked yet because he was undrafted, so he gets to pick his brand. So I would assume that he's just going to pick. Is it SmackDown that Otis is on now, or Raw?
Yeah, because Mandy's still on Raw. They're still separated.
Yeah, so yeah, I assume that Tucker will just go, well, I'm just going to pick SmackDown because that's where Otis is. So yeah, that seemed a bit stupid. And also, the one that really grinds my gears is the Seth Rollins and Rey and Dominic thing. That really irritated me, because as soon as they announced that Seth was going to SmackDown, which he hasn't been on SmackDown in ages, I think he's every single time he's been drafted to Raw, I thought to myself, brilliant. The feud's over, the feud's done, he can move on to better things, they can move Dominic and Rey to different things. This is a great idea. This is a nice, fresh idea. And then literally within an hour, they were drafted to SmackDown as well. I was like, right, so the feud's going to continue. Great, thanks for that. So what was the point of that? What a waste of freaking time that was. Stupid.
The only thing is, like, if that had happened, if Ray and Seth ended up on separate shows and the feud had just ended, it would have been a weird end, because they were obviously building up to this thing with Mysterio's daughter Murphy, and I kind of want to see how that pans out, to be fair. But
yeah, but you can still do that with Seth, like, not being involved necessarily, because Survivor Series ain't too far away, so he could just up his social media game with that whole storyline and then start poking his finger and everything in Survivor Series time to kind of cause more of a problem.
Yeah, I genuinely think, well, number one, if they were going to keep Ray and Seth separate, I would have had Ray go to SmackDown and Seth stay on Raw, because now his whole Monday Night Messiah nickname is gone. He can't call himself that anymore. But I genuinely believe, possibly for the Royal Rumble, Seth's gone to SmackDown, so it'll be Seth Roman for the Universal title at the Royal Rumble, which I'm okay with, but it's kind of like, apart from those potential reasons, the draft as a whole was not a necessity to the product whatever.
No, there wasn't really anything that stood out. And there was even like a couple of things, like they're making this draft and putting people in certain places. Yet next week on SmackDown, you've got Roman versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title, which one makes no sense for Roman's character because he's already said that he's a prize fighter and he only comes out when he needs to, so he's being told he's got to defend his title. To someone like Braun, who's now on Raw, isn't he, as far as I remember, so he's going back to SmackDown or something. I don't know.
Can't even keep track.
And then after that, they had... what was it? I can't remember what it was now. There was something else as well, where it was just like, well, that makes... Oh, yeah, farewell thing for the New Day. I was like, but two of them aren't fucking there anymore. They're on Raw, but now they're going back to SmackDown again. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, you're meant to be splitting these people up and putting them specifically on brands, and then the following week, you've just completely undone that and done your wildcard bollocks again, and they can just appear. Why? We all know that Braun's not going to win that match, because Reigns is going against Uso and that's Cell. It's pointless.
But also the fact that it was like, okay, the New Day have gone to, well, Kofi and Xavier have gone to Raw, Street Profits have gone to SmackDown. Well, hang on a minute, they've both got the opposite show's tag titles. So, magically, they decide to switch him over.
Yeah,
like,
I saw that. Do you know what? I was listening to a podcast, I think it was the Wrestle Talk guys. I think they were reviewing the first load of the drafts and everything, and the whole shock of moving the SmackDown tag guys to the Raw. And one of them said, I bet you any money there'll be a little segment that's backstage where they meet up with each other and they switch titles. And that is exactly what happened. It's ridiculously how predictive... WWE are at the moment, and I was just like, wow. I was like, that is just so lazy.
It was obviously a way they're beginning to like clutch at straws now, because obviously due to certain circumstances, ratings are going to continue to go down. It was their way to grab more ratings, but surely someone in the board meeting when this was pitched would have said, the fans aren't going to like this. I know why you want to do it, but they're not going to like this because A, they're not stupid, because B, it's pointless. It doesn't mean anything when there's no attendance or crowd, because the whole thing is just kind of morphed into one big clusterfuck at the minute. No fault of your own, due to the COVID-19 circumstances, but no fan is going to tune in when it means nothing. And that's what it means. So, I just didn't see it as a draft at all. It was just kind of like, oh, that's happened.
It's just something just to raise some views. That's it.
Yeah,
it was so stupid. I realised I said predictive and I meant to say predictable.
No, the fans know. The listeners.
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
But it's stupid, wasn't it? It was just pointless.
It was crap.
Yeah.
My final one.
Yes, final one of the podcast.
Final one. Back in the day, back in the good old days.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. In the Attitude Era, it didn't matter if it was a house show, pay-per-view, TV, what day of the week it was, the arenas were packed. Sold out. And nowadays, presently, obviously nothing. But, when arenas were open and whatnot, you still get a decent enough crowd on camera. Sometimes what is behind the camera is just blacked out chairs where there's no fans sitting there. So it's a very different, I don't know if it's culture or just a different time we're living in as far as fan attendance. Number one, do you think there's ever a chance we'd get the WWE or wrestling would get to that amount of popularity again, where they are selling out every arena every week all the time? And B, do you think it's as important now as it was back in the 90s? Or do you think it's more important now than it was back in the 90s?
I don't think they're ever going to get back to that kind of golden era, because it's a golden era for a reason. It's lightning in a bottle with the Attitude Era, with Austin and that kind of stuff. So I don't ever think they'll get to that form of glory. Every single company and business and idea always has a peak, and that's just what it is. We'll probably get some good moments again where it'll go up again, but I don't think it'll ever go fully back to what it was, because I just don't think it can. On the second part of it, I don't think it necessarily needs to. They still have plenty of a following. They still pack out pay-per-views 99% of the time, especially the big four. They've got so much more content these days with the WWE Network and all that kind of stuff, and the way that they're pushing things forward. They've got NXT as well, 205 Live, NXT UK. They've got all these documentaries. They've got loads of other content they can put forward that they don't necessarily need to pack out the arenas in order to get their money, because back in the day, they didn't have the WWE Network. They didn't have all this content that they could just chuck to you, because they had to make DVDs out of it, which cost money. And they didn't have all the WWE Network where you could just get it really, really quickly for yourself. And merch you had to go and get while you were there. Going on an online store was a lot harder than it is these days. These days, it's a couple of taps and it's there. So no, I don't necessarily think they need to, because it's so much easier for people to absorb content and purchase stuff that they don't need those seats behind the camera to be filled. If they do, if they want to, or they have the capacity to do so, then sure. But I don't necessarily think they need to, because they've just got other avenues that they can get their money. And like I say, it's not the Attitude Era anymore. It's never going to be the Attitude Era again. We might return to some sort of form of glory once Triple H fully takes over, but I don't think it'll ever be full-on Attitude Era, because we're just not in that time anymore.
Well, I agree that the times have changed to the point with like content and streaming services and technology and all that stuff. But even going back as far as the 80s, most of the time they were sold out as well. And that, again, like I just said, it's probably to do with the times of you couldn't just, at the click of a button like can nowadays, find a film like that or whatever you want. You went out and did stuff. Yeah, and one of those things, especially in the 80s, and it was you go out to a show, wrestling in this case, and in the 90s, like you're saying, with how popular WWF was back then, you'd be like, what shall we do? Let's get a ticket to the fucking show, because that would be mental. But nowadays, I still think they need to take the attendance and ticket sales seriously, because it's a huge part of their income. And like you say, we can sit at home and just go, yeah, we can watch it on the network and whatnot and stuff. But as recent events shown, if everybody did that and no one was in the audience, there's no energy. There's nothing there.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Yeah, I would feel more, if things went back to normal and in a few years' time we turned on a Raw and they were actually honest about their attendance, and we got a full 1,000 people here, you could be like, oh, well, there's not going to be that much energy. I'm not going to be as invested in the show because it's not feeding through my television set. If they go, welcome to Raw, to this sold-out Madison Square Garden where the place is packed and you can hear all the people screaming and feel that energy, not only am I going to be like, right, I am pumped for this Raw, just watching it here on my couch, but it gives you more incentive to go, to go, that looks awesome, I want to get a ticket to the next one.
Yeah.
Because in the Attitude Era, you get a ticket and it'll be, this show's going to be awesome. Nowadays, due to, unfortunately, the way the product is, even if the UK did if WWE did a UK pay-per-view, don't get me wrong, I'd be on the list to get a ticket.
Yep.
But if it was the 90s, I'd sit down with my ticket at, I don't know, Wembley or wherever it is and go, I'm pumped for this. This is going to be awesome. Nowadays, I'd sit there with my ticket going, God, I hope this is going to be good.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's not necessarily to them not taking the ticket sales and the butts in seats seriously. I think it's just down to the fact that they need to start taking their content seriously. They need to start taking their storylines and the way they're scripting stuff seriously, because if they don't, you're going to put more and more people off, and less people are going to want to go. So you're going to get less and less people there because they think, well, I'm not spending all this time, effort, travel, and money to go to a show that's mediocre at best. I want to be blown away every single week. And that, at the end of the day, if you can't provide that on a regular basis, it's not going to happen every single week, but you need to apply it for most of it, because you need to have that viewer retention and for them wanting to go out and sit in that seat and watch it live. If you're constantly failing like they are at the moment, but bar a couple of storylines, they're constantly doing that, then people are going to go, well, I'm not going to waste my time. I'll just sit and watch it at home or do a catch up. I've even said, like before, like at the moment, I'm watching 4, maybe 5 videos on YouTube trying to catch up on what's happening, but I'm skipping the rest because I don't care. Beforehand, I used to watch every single one of them to know exactly what's going on, but now I'm like, I just pick my favourite bits, and it shouldn't be like that.
Well, yeah, I have always disagreed with the quote of one person selling that arena. The only time I've ever really come close to agreeing with it was Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Because he was that popular and you could tell every time his music hit and the reaction of the crowd that a lot of the time people were there for him. And I'll admit, if I went to one of those shows, I'd be sitting there going, I can't wait to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. However, because of how popular he was, most of the time it'd be the main event, the last match. But it wouldn't mean I'm not interested in the rest of the show. Other characters would be coming out. We're like, oh yeah, he's pretty cool. And I'm interested in him. This is going to be good. This is why cards like WrestleMania are so important. You can't have a WrestleMania card where it's like, here's a match, here's a filler, that's a championship, this is the match everybody wants to see. You need to have a card that is that packed that you want to see every match.
Yeah.
And that's the magic that WWE are losing at the minute, whether it be through bad storytelling, bad story writing, or just bad character development. They need to get you to care about everything on the show. And they're not doing that. And they're not doing it enough for me to go, you know what, not only do I want to watch it on TV, but I want to buy a ticket.
That's the thing, they're putting all their eggs in one basket. Like, so with SmackDown, they're obviously putting all their eggs in Roman Reigns and Bayley and Sasha. On Raw, they're putting it with Drew McIntyre, and that's all I can really see. You know what I mean? They're putting all their effort in those storylines, and the rest of them are kind of just mediocre and falling by the wayside, no matter how good the person is.
Yeah, even the whole Retribution shit,
Oh, it's awful. And don't get me wrong, I was shocked when Ali was announced as the guy that's running it, but there's no way you're convincing me otherwise that they didn't just change that on the fly because they realised they forgot about the whole hacking thing that was bound to be Ali. So they just decided to meld it all together and everything, and suddenly he's in charge of Retribution. There was no way that was a long-term booking decision. That was something that came up a week at best before it aired.
But these were both stories that were started with a proper build. And all that, and it was like, this is interesting, I want to see where it's going.
Yeah, Retribution, I was hyped the first time they arrived. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is awesome. And then quickly it just fell apart. Yeah,
because now it's become, okay, who are these Retribution guys? Who's this hacker? And it's quickly become, Retribution new stable, they're signed. Oh, Ali was a hacker and he's the leader. Now what? What was the point of it? Where do you go from here? And I don't think they even fucking know.
No, they don't. They're booking week from week.
Giving me a headache. Yeah. There used to be a time where all storylines would intertwine. Instead of an abrupt end to something, it would be like, oh, shit, I've lost the championship. This ain't over to whoever you're talking to. So it's like, okay, you've got another shot if you beat this guy. And then, unfortunately, another guy stops him winning it. So that's where that rivalry is born. And it steamrolls from there. Everything used to intertwine to like, this is now over because now he's interested in this guy or whatever. Now it's kind of like, oh, you beat me. I need a new opponent.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. There's no smoothness to it. It's just, right, there's a cut-off point, feud's over, let's move on with the next feud. And it's just not... it's not smooth. It's just abrupt and on the fly, and it's proven that they're just not thinking before they're doing stuff. They're just changing stuff constantly. Vince is ripping up scripts and shifting stuff on the fly, sometimes an hour before the show. It's pathetic.
It's weird that we'll talk about the whole thing that used to be the rematch clause in the contracts. And at the time, and I suppose still now, we were quite glad when they got rid of it. But
have they? Because a couple of times already they've gone against that bullshit.
Yes, it depends on the mood they're feeling.
Yeah! Wild card!
For example, I don't even know if he got his rematch, but Kofi Kingston beat Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. I'm pretty sure at some point Bryan got a rematch. Lost the rematch, and then suddenly, the next time you see him, he's shuffling his feet down the ramp because he's like, right, I've lost my rematch for the WWE Championship, but I've got to come to work. Now what? And it's kind of lazily put into another storyline with whoever. You could use the rematch clause or the rematch itself to start another rivalry or story. You could have, who was Bryan with at the time? Rowan. You could have had Rowan accidentally cost Bryan the match. Therefore, Bryan can no longer go for the WWE Championship. Bryan's pissed off with Rowan. That's where their rivalry begins. But they don't seem to want to do stuff like that. It's not rocket science.
Problem is, I think maybe so many writers are just afraid to do long-term booking because they know that Vince is going to change his mind so quickly and so often. They think, well, what's the point of me putting all this time and effort in for this perfect long-term booking storyline when I know that Vince is going to get bored and switch it at any moment? Maybe they're just too afraid.
Yeah, I swear to God, I think someone needs to go, Vince, have a dementia check. Because the amount of times I've heard rumours about he can't even remember what happened last week on Raw and stuff. It's like, well, if you can't remember, how can we have faith in you to book this shit?
It's probably because he's not sleeping, because he thinks that sleep's his enemy, so that's why he can't remember.
He also thinks sneezes is a sign of weakness.
Yeah, because he can't control it. I just thought, oh my God, you are such a fucking retard, it's unreal. How have you managed to build $1 billion company when you generally think that sleep is your enemy and sneezing is a horrible thing because you can't control it? It's fucking ridiculous. It's the ramblings of a madman.
I sometimes think if someone slipped some sleeping pills in his, I don't know, his iced coffee or something, and he just zonked out for like 12 hours, and he woke up this cleansed man of like, I've had sleep, now I can think more clearly, we might actually get the old Vince back for a while. They'll be like, because you've had a nice sleep for once, instead of having 60 minutes per night or whatever the fuck you get. So
basically we want to give him sleeping pills so he has a nice kip, which will annoy him because he'll wake up going, I slept too long. But maybe when he wakes up, just put sneezing powder in his face.
Well, the thing is, with the sleeping pills, he might not wake up at all. It's worth the risk.
It's worth it. Just give it a gamble. You never know. It's a win-win.
If he wakes up, he's cleansed. He's got a clear head. If you don't wake up, give Triple H the crown.
Yeah, done.
It's as simple as that. So, right, I think that's it.
Yeah, so we just ended on that lovely note there of praying that Vince dies in his sleep. So fingers crossed. You never know. So yeah, that's it. I don't know when we're back. I know Hell in a Cell's like 2 weeks away, and if we got something before then, we'll do it. If not, we'll probably see Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, if we have the content, we'll do something.
Yes. So yeah, like, subscribe, share, and we'll be back very, very soon.
Bye all.
Bye.